healer, speak love, everyone loves Lulu. Healer, speak love, everyone loves Lulu.
What is going on, beautiful? It's me, your girl, Miss Lulu. Another episode of Everyone Loves Lulu. And every week, I do have a treat for you. And I have the utmost treat. Coming straight out of the office, like with our dukes up and everything. Our former candidate, Carson, candidate for mayor, and now just actually announced her candidacy for city clerk of Carson. Please, please, please welcome my girl, Meni. What is going on, gorgeous?
Girl, city of Carson, never a dull moment.
Oh, man. You know what? I think a lot of the time people forget. He's like, oh, LA, but they don't realize how big LA is and what other cities actually be doing some crazy shit. You know, like Carson, the city of Carson, like you said, never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. What we've had, how many of our officials, we had a couple recalled, and they still come back. Reelected. Only Carson does that.
Wait, so they not only get like let go, but then they get reelected on top
in
of
another
it?
position.
I mean, recycle. You know, at least they're recycling.
It's a green effort.
I love it. Well, before we jump right into it, which I am totally chomping at the bit right now because I'm just so excited. We got to chat late last night, you know, and it was like more of a pre-interview than anything. And I wish there was a camera going on so that I could have just it's like that moment when you're the fly on the wall, you know, and you get to have insight and only exclusive listening, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. It's better than a movie. But before we jump into that, let's go through our first date questions, you know?
Sure.
Okay, so you're from Carson, born and raised.
Born and raised, well, not born here, Harbor City girl, Kaiser. I'm a Harbor City, but I'm from the Patch.
Okay.
So
explain that. What is the Patch?
So the Patch is the residential area east of the 405 freeway, which is sandwiched between 405 Carson Street and the Dominguez side.
Okay, and so what is the Patch known for? I mean, like, is it
badass people?
Oh, I should have known already. I mean, it was more rhetorical. No, okay, so cool, from the Patch, and then did you stay here in Carson? Majority of your life?
I stayed here in our family house because I was the young one. Everyone married, went off, and dutiful Samoan daughter.
Yes,
you know how that goes, especially the youngest one. And so I've actually been through the city this whole time. The Patch side. Before we all went to high school in Banning in Wilmington, so that was the black and red. That's why my logo and everything
is right. I see it. I see it. And you have your red flower always. The black and red, right? I love it.
And I love supporting our small businesses. So this is the Island Lace shop on Main Street.
Gorgeous. Yes. I love it. Okay, so you can go get it. So you see, she just totally referenced it right now.
I love supporting our small business community, especially those of minority owned or people of color. I just realized only because it was super hot today. But I got the shirt.
Built in Carson.
At Fashion Town right over there in Torrance.
I know, super cute.
Yes.
And so you been here in Carson, stayed here in Carson, have been serving Carson. So you have been in community work for 25 years.
Yes. So I was with the city for almost 25 years, started there in high school, working as a summer youth worker, made my way up, started learning everything from the ground up. One of the best experiences was when I came in the 90s, 96, a lot of the old school cats were still here. So just before they were retiring, they were here in the infancy of the city. City was incorporated February 20, 1968. Yes, of course.
Right. She knows her history.
Yes, of course, her history. So I was fortunate enough to get experience working with those who had so much institutional knowledge, and they were really big in mentoring the next generation because, like they said, they're not always going to be here, but it's important in order for our city to move forward, you have to understand our past so that we can celebrate the goods, but also learn from our mistakes. The whole point is not to repeat it.
Right. But then it just seems that history, it's a thing. It always repeats itself. And now, so that's really cool that we had mentioned last night when we were chatting that under them, it was a different kind of leadership group back then.
Oh, no, it was
compared to now.
Yes, compared to now, it was a complete overhaul, especially the last 5 years. and we as residents actually suffer. And so this is, for those who are not familiar, the main industries is you have either private sector or you have public sector. And so the rules and laws do not necessarily are the same. So sometimes people have a hard time transitioning from private sector over to public.
Yes.
Because of the transparency factor. You don't have free will to do things.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about the transparency. It was so
Lord.
transparent that your information is out there.
Sold
Okay,
by the
right.
city.
Oh, we're definitely going to be touching on that. Ooh, I
Yes.
can't wait.
Yeah, so it's a transparency factor. And my first boss at the city was Carson City Clerk, the late Helen Kawagoy. She's the one who the council chambers are named after. She was city clerk for over 37 years.
Oh my gosh.
She was around.
She's a boss.
Where she lived was actually considered Gardena, but she was here during the time when the city was walking the streets to get signatures to become incorporated.
Oh, she was door knocking and everything.
Yes, they were door knocking. The original borders of Carson was supposed to go all the way to, I believe, Vermont.
Oh, wow.
It was supposed to be, but those block of residential did not want to be part of what was referred to as the junkyard city. Carson was the junkyard of LA County.
Oh, how rude.
Yeah, well, because we're the youngest city that was
City,
incorporated.
okay.
Other cities were incorporated like 100 plus years.
Okay,
Yeah.
explain that. Like the difference between an incorporated city.
So what you have in California, obviously we have counties. And within the counties, if an area wanted more local control, they would become an incorporated city.
Got it.
Incorporated city means you have your own governance, you have your own direct elected officials.
And
The
you
whole-
have more control of what goes on
Correct.
in your city.
And that is the purpose of it having an incorporated city, is to have greater local control so that residents have that. We have different areas. So like, for example, the easiest way to compare it, so City of Carson is an incorporated city since
Okay.
February 1968. Wilmington, which is just south of us,
Yes.
is actually an unincorporated area of City of Los Angeles.
And so what?
So it's like a suburb area break of, but they fall under City of LA.
Okay, so then the city, any of the rules and regulations and
Correct.
laws of City of LA apply to Wilmington,
Yes,
whereas
it does.
Carson, they have a little leeway to do their own thing because they're
Correct.
incorporated.
Yes.
Aha.
So
okay.
it's really important. I think more recent cities who got incorporated, maybe Signal Hill and different pockets. Signal Hill's interesting because it's literally cut physically in the
It's an
middle of
island.
Yes,
It's literally an island.
Yes.
Like that's crazy.
in the middle of
Of Long
city of
Beach,
Long Beach.
right.
It's the only city I'm aware of that is completely engulfed.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's pretty much its name. It's right.
Yes.
You hit it on the button where it's a hill, and it's just this little island in itself.
And the reason why I bring up Wilmington, because we got so many Pollies who live in Wilmington, but also I always feel bad for it because I grew up in Wilmington. I go to church, First Christian Church of Wilmington.
Okay.
And we went to Banning and everything like that. And they have way better taco stands and stuff like that. I'm all
Message.
about that. But the thing is, they have the port of LA, which is the number one revenue source for the city of LA. Yet
It's
it
so
does
Wilmington
show,
doesn't
It
get
doesn't
any
show. It doesn't show. Wilmington should be the
the
diamond.
one that's actually
It's
yes.
the look of it and everything. It should be
So
the
if
top.
they let's if they were incorporated and
Correct.
the port is there, they would have to be paying to Wilmington, right?
Wilmington
would be getting the majority of the revenues, and they
every-
would allot it to wherever they
Yes.
would want to see fit.
So yes, and what happened is the laws and stuff change. So every time when there's groups of Wilmington residents, I'm seeing online now another pocket of people are saying we want to start the signature gatherer to force a measure onto the ballot about incorporation. The second that starts coming up, it's like in cycles, maybe 5-10 years, you'll see it where a group of residents are just fed up.
Yeah.
They're fed up of not being taken care of. They're the number
They're
one.
lost in the
Correct.
mix
They're
of
one
things.
of the highest revenue source for the city, but yet it doesn't show and reflect in the looks of their city. You know,
That's
it looks like a
terrible.
third world nation.
Right.
And honestly, Wilmington and Pedro has become the dumping grounds for downtown.
And a lot of the time, you don't even realize that Wilmington's a city. I mean, when you come to LA, I mean,
Right.
you know, it's like, oh, you see Carson, and then it's right next door, but you're going, oh yeah, and Wilmington.
Yeah.
That's
So
yeah, that's
every
frustrating.
every time you start hearing talk about people gathering, whatever, then City of LA throws a little something. Remember how when they created the park that goes
Oh
follows
yes.
There was a big group of residents when I was younger that were advocating about becoming incorporated. They're not being taken care of. You're not providing programs and services for our youth, anywhere for them to go play, blah, blah, blah. Next you know, City of LA goes, oh, we have plans in the works to develop a recreational area. How very convenient.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so how
Yes.
many signatures? Take us through the process of what, I mean, I want to pick your brain because you are like the textbook, when it comes to all the changes that have happened and also from the past because you were under such awesome leadership back then.
Yeah, it was amazing. So it's based off of the number, I believe, of residents and voters. But the problem is they've changed the laws
Of course
over the
they
years,
have.
which now makes it harder.
And
It's
so,
the same thing.
so
yes.
Carson was so fortunate to have become incorporated right before it
When-
got tougher.
Actually, we kind of got screwed up because the county changed the laws for any new incorporated cities in, I believe, the 50s. So any city incorporated after that fact got a smaller percentage of the property tax. So
They just try to catch you everywhere they
no,
can,
they do.
right?
They do. They do.
You're like,
so
yay, we got this. Oh no, we still got
that's why
screwed over.
that's why people are like, we want to be like Torrance. They get all this money from property tax. I go, because they have a higher percentage.
Right.
It doesn't matter how much the homes are in Carson. It's astronomical. But all these cities surrounding Carson were incorporated decades.
Way before.
Yeah, so,
right before the 1950
Right, so-
changes.
they get a higher percentage. We will never get the amount that they get.
That's so sad. And then you think about that, and then you look at Wilmington, the neighbor, and they're like, they'll never get that period ever because you'll never know when they actually could be incorporated again.
Well, it would
or
take
ever.
it would take community organizing for them to be able to really get out there, get the signatures and everything. The homeless population excessiveness is really driving people because it's just they've become the dumping grounds, and I feel so bad.
So how long does that process usually take?
It takes several years because it's signature gathering.
Like several years, like 2, 3 to 5 to 10? It could be.
It could be because there's a whole process, but everything. It's the same thing with creating a independent school district. Carson was one of the last cities under the old rules, maybe about 10, 15 years ago. My neighbor, who was a professor, was part of that and campaigned to convert it. And it finally went to vote for the community, and the community voted it down because LA Unified was like, oh, no, you're going to lose everything. And everyone believed them. But what they don't realize is when a new school district is created, all the equipment in the school that's in the physical boundaries automatically transfers. And then the value of how much per student and everything, it automatically transfers the state.
Wow.
So people didn't
understand.
And this
but then
one,
a lot
yeah.
of the time, I mean, also what I want to get into, we were talking about engagement, right? Like
Correct.
Community engagement, and that's a lot of thing. Like you're kind of shedding light on things that people don't ask questions, but because a lot of the time they're ignorant about it. They don't know. So how can you ask questions about something you have no idea about to even begin with? Right.
And it's very confusing for them because when they do try to learn, and anytime someone's like wanting to learn, I'm like, I'm there. I can help you. I can break it down for you, simplify it, making you understand. And so just so that they don't get scared off.
But you're a rare find because what happens?
Right. And
When they're trying to actually learn, but if they don't get you right off, they get somebody else who's trying to make them feel dumb.
yes, and that's the one thing I really hate is that they dumb people down. They make them feel inferior, and then it just turns people off. It's like trying to encourage people who I know would be great at community organizing and be officials. But when they're trying to learn and they try to reach out, those in power make them feel as if they're not good enough.
Yeah.
You don't have the education. Oh, well, you don't have this. You're not in this group. I said, no, all you need is a heart to serve. And I tell you, we will round up the people to sit there and engage and teach you what you need to know. I go, I've been here for so many years. I've been blessed. that people
25 plus 17 years old is when you
Yeah,
started.
I was 17.
Okay, well, let's go back there. At a 17-year-old, I'm thinking about prom, whatever sport,
Oh, no.
checking out dudes. You're over here going like, I'm gonna
I was
take over the
working.
city of Carson.
I was working because I said, I go, oh no, my
You're
sister,
the baby.
Yeah, I was the youngest, and my sister said, no, she needs to get a job. All of us started when we were 14, 15.
She's 17 and she still
She
doesn't
still
have a job.
She doesn't have a job.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
And my dad's like, no, not the Pepe, not her. She can't. My sister goes, no.
No, it's
She
time.
goes, get your paperwork. They're hiring for summer youth. She gave me the list, and she said, get these paperwork from your school. You're going to go to the community center and stand in line with hundreds of other kids. And I was like, I can't believe I'm here. And she was like, you're going to work. You're going to go get a job because her belief, my late sister, Samoa Isabella, is she says, oh, no, we need to keep youth busy. Because if we don't keep them busy,
They get
will
in
be in
trouble. Okay.
They get in trouble.
Yes. She knew. She
She
knew.
knew. She would rather I be so
And would you
slim-
have been one of those getting in trouble? If you
Yeah.
didn't? Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
You're like, okay, she had a point.
I believe in supporting the economy even as a kid. So even during school and taking that number 3 RTD to
Okay.
Redondo. We support public transit.
Oh yes, yes. So then you went to the youth program.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Summer youth program. I was surprised, hundreds of kids, and they hired 100 kids. So I was one of the ones. I was really shocked. They were amazed that I actually knew who the elected officials were. It was my last interview question. And they asked.
And how did you know that? It's because you were was your family involved?
Yeah, so my late mother, Arietta Meni, we used to have a dance group, Arietta Polynesian Productions.
Oh, nice.
And so one of the things, even though we did paid gigs and all of that, anytime the city or the convalescent homes, I used to think it was so weird as a kid. You always go to convalescent homes, you know.
You're like,
and I was like, this
is not a hangout, y'all.
yeah, but our mother was really adamant with my sisters and I. I'm the youngest of 6, and I have, well, technically 12. But
Wow.
yes.
You had your own city, your village within the city,
all
girl.
females.
Oh.
All females. All females.
I'm not messing with y'all. It's like the original Charlie's Angels over
Yes.
here. Carson's
Yeah.
Angels.
Yes. 6 are all around, and 6 are here. But so she was really adamant that all of us girls were raised with our talents to serve God and serve our community. And like I told you, Lord knows I'm not on the pulpit. That I know for a fact that is not my calling.
At least you know.
I'm not going to be a school teacher. I allowed my sisters. One good thing about having a lot of siblings, there's plenty of siblings to kind of share careers.
Right.
So you appease the parents.
Yeah.
To feel like,
Okay, like I can skate through and do something else.
Yeah, so all of us were in public sector, and then it segued into naturally nurturing how Samoans are. We all end up being in labor. My late sister was the former union president for AFSCME Local 809. She decided there was a big turnover of staff years ago, and she said, you know what? Why, instead of complaining, why don't we get in there? She goes, I think we can do this. We can totally do this. And I was like, okay, you're crazy.
Right. But she foresaw it.
She foresaw it. So
Because you already had the qualifications in your daily
Right.
work that you did already.
and not only that, our cultural background,
Yes.
that nurturing and everything, but also
loyalty, the commitment,
correct,
the
but
hard
also
work.
calling out the BS.
Yes.
We learned how to balance that. So we did that in 2006 officially. We were actually, I believe, trustees like a year or two before. But when we took active leadership, she went for the vice president first year. I went for the treasurer, and then the following year she went for president. And then from 2007 till her death, 2012, is when she was the president.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Rest in love, by the way,
I know.
to your sister.
And that's
Wow.
that's why her name right here, Tomoe Isabella.
it's
I wouldn't be
beautiful.
Samoan if I didn't tattoo my family's
Okay.
name. But I told my other sisters, no,
No, not y'all.
No, only her. They're going in my heart.
All right.
I go, they
Exactly.
were
You're tatted right inside
my
my heart.
so only because she was like my second mother because she ran the roost of us younger ones.
Yes.
So after my mom died back in '94, I was 15, and that was another reason why she wanted me to be active in something to the point that I would be too exhausted to run around. She was like, "Why are you tired?" I was going to school, plus I had a part-time job, plus doing this, plus the house. She goes, "No, you're fine. You only have one job. You go to school."
And you're doing this.
And she goes, "You're only doing school, band." I was at banding. I played drums. She goes,
You were a drummer?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really awesome.
Yeah, so, and she was like, no. But I get it. I was really irritated with her then because I didn't have time to go hang out and everything. But
Right.
it literally booked up my time between school, band, and working. I was working half day while I was in my junior year.
Wow. So you really didn't have any time to get into any kind of mischief.
Yeah. Yes.
So instead, you decided to do mischief in the
in
city.
in the city. That's where we go.
Legally.
Paid.
Oh, okay. That's the more important part. Yes, girl. Absolutely. Okay. So then, explain to me especially, but to us, the listeners and viewers, what do you mean by when you say that you were a leader in labor?
So, at the city of Carson, the majority of the employees, full-time and part-time, are represented by AFSCME, Local 809. And so
that's a union.
yes, it's a
Okay.
union. It's a labor union. And so I actually, after my sister's passing, I needed to regroup. So I just stepped back as a shop steward to get myself situated. And God love my sister's VP, Denise Hunt.
Shout out.
Shout out. She, retired. Love her. She used to be the senior park director at Scott Park, for those of you guys who remember, Denise Hunt.
Yes.
But she did me a solid, and I will always forever be grateful because at the time I lost my sister, I was not, my heart and my mind
We're not
were
in it
not in
anymore,
it. And
right.
God loved my sister. She had such a better soul because the people who would even backstab her, she would still represent them and save their jobs.
Oh my gosh.
I know. God love her. And when people would remind
And that's
me,
why she would have been on the pulpit and not you.
correct. And that's why when people reminded me, you remember your sister's like that? I go, God rest her soul.
Rest her-
I said, such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
I wasn't at that point.
Right.
And so, I was the younger pesky sister, and she always drilled in me. She goes, "No, we're here to serve. It doesn't matter what they do to us or what they say." She goes, "We have to represent them to the
For
best
the
of our
majority,
ability."
right.
Correct. And so that really, so my heart and my mind were not together. So I took a different role as a
But she
shop steward.
probably appreciated your pit bull side because every good leader needs one. You know what I'm saying?
True, but my sister was very diplomatic about it. She was the one who would make me sit next to her at our board meetings because I needed to be within distance for her to kick me because she was like, "Stop
Under the
it."
table.
She was like, "Stop it."
He was like, that's enough. That's enough.
She would
Anna."
kick me and say no, and she would pull the sister card on me. But because she had so many ideas about what to do to better the union, because we truly believe it's a circle. We help our employees. A happy, productive employee is a good worker,
Right.
and then it's good providing
Lower
services.
turnover rates.
Correct, and great service to the community.
Yes,
I go, come on now,
yes.
we've all watched The Lion King,
Okay.
The Circle of Life, okay? So
Do unto others.
Exactly.
Come on now.
Right. And so she was really big about that and stuff like that. But one of the things, she had so many ideas. And when she couldn't get volunteers from her board, because, it was like cricket, she had all these ideas. And she goes, "It's okay, Anna, you'll do it." And I was like, that's not
You were
fair.
voluntold. You weren't even volunteering.
Yes. And, true Samoan, sibling, I would
She
be
pulled
so-
rank. She's like, I'm older. I'm the
older.
president.
And I said, "No, you can't pull sister card on
At
we're
work, at
equals.
work. Come on now."
She said no, but in hindsight, she prepared me for her not to be there because of all those experiences. Even though I wanted to wring her neck, and she rest in peace.
Right.
It actually prepared me to take over when I was ready because I was well versed in all different aspects. She prepared me.
I'm looking here on your resume, and I mean, since '96 you've been working. I mean, for the city clerk's office.
I started there. Yeah, city clerk's office.
Yeah.
That's why it's personal for me running. I'm going back home.
Yes,
Where I
you
started.
are. That, like we talked about, or like you had brought up with Lion King, the circle of life. Look at
Correct.
full circle now. That's where you started. That's where you're looking to be in office. Like,
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And you have all this experience, 25 years of that. Plus, you've been a leader, a president
Yes.
of the union as well, labor.
So that was president of the local, representing the majority of the city of Carson employees. But then what I did was I stepped up and ran for the district council 36. So AFSCME Local 809 is just Carson.
Okay.
But we're part of an affiliate that comes from Santa Barbara to San Diego.
Holy, that's huge.
So it's subdivided into districts. And so I ran for each of the vice presidents from those districts makes up the executive board, the LA. So I represented District 4, which is the South Bay. I had 14 locals.
Whoa.
From south of the 105 to the Orange County border.
So you never sleep, is what I'm hearing.
2021 is when I started to sleep.
Well, okay, which is really funny because you had just mentioned, when we had our chat last night, that you decided to step back. You're like, okay, 25 years. I think I've deserved a breather. And then you didn't even barely take a breath, and now you're running for
I know.
city clerk. What? Are you just a glutton for punishment?
Anybody working for the city of Carson is glutton for punishment. I honestly think so. But you know what it is I love my city. They drive me nuts, but I love my city.
Yes.
so-
And it's very evident that you're
Yes.
still here and still fighting for every single person, a resident that's here.
And that was the thing that I always try to explain to management. They don't understand. You guys may look down on our city, but you don't have any problem taking our paycheck. But you get in those cars and you leave our city.
Yeah.
I live here. You guys don't eat here. You don't shop here. You don't run into the people. It's a very community, very close knit. And I love that. And it's so diverse.
Yes.
I never saw it as diverse because I always saw it as, oh, those are so-and-so, my sister's
Right.
classmates, or those are the neighbors, or from the park association.
But
Yes.
then when you step back a little
Yes,
bit, you're
I
like,
was
oh,
even
wait.
part of the Dolphin Park Volunteer Association. I didn't even have any kids. But all of my sister's kids went through the
Those
program.
are your kids.
And of course,
And all the neighbors' kids, those are your kids too.
yes, but you wouldn't be a Samoan sibling if you didn't go out and help your sibling.
Oh, for sure.
For all the kids.
Especially when you got 12 of them. Geez, you got 12 siblings.
Yeah,
You're
well,
like,
the 6 of us were here in the States.
my
But
gosh.
for other people who are outside of Samoan culture, they don't understand about giving to your family, your siblings. For them, their mindset is, those aren't your kids.
Yeah.
I said, I know, I don't get the tax break. I go, I don't.
But here I am helping
Here-
them like they literally,
were-
I bore them.
Yes, but it's kind of a hard concept for people who were not raised around islanders
Yes.
to grasp on.
Yeah.
And I find that over and over again because they don't understand. They're like, you would travel?
Well, especially
Yeah.
coming here, I mean, especially being in LA
Mm-hmm.
where, and in the United States, I feel like as a whole, it just becomes more of looking out for yourself, you know, and you have that mentality of once you turn 18 or you're an adult, okay, what are you doing with your life? Like where,
Right.
and no, and then it's probably why the older folks home, right, was built because it doesn't work like that for them. They're not looking to take care of
Right.
of their families when they grow older and respect their elders, right? Or even
It blows my mind.
they're
when
wanting
I
to get
come-
rid of them. It's like, ugh.
Right. They're like, oh no, I'm married to have a family. I said, no, your parents will always be your parents.
Always.
Always.
It doesn't matter if you're 70 and they're 90. They're your parents,
Like
and they can
I-
also still smack the shit out of you.
I used to laugh when my nephews who were adults. They're like, who's my mom to yell at me? That's my sister. And I crack up. I said, did you not just hear Papa yell at your mom?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if
It
she's
doesn't-
married, she has kids and grandkids. It don't matter.
Yes, okay. And I'm learning as well because I moved here to Southern California in 2006 and then went back home to Samoa and came back in 2009. And I started to have kids, right? My son is about to be 5 and they used to whoop our asses, you know, and like the discipline was on another level. You know, before we knew or came to the States and understood what maybe abuse was, I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but
I know.
I'm like, technically, y'all abused me. You know what I mean? Like, you abused us as kids.
Spare the rod.
But yes. Oh my gosh, is that passage forever? Just it
everything.
needs to be tattooed on my forehead. But you know, now when I try to discipline my children and I'm in earshot of my parents, I swear to God, like I still flinch because they're over here telling me, don't salsa the kids, you know, salsa spanking.
Yeah.
Don't spank them. Don't do that. Don't yell at them. I'm like, this is nothing compared to the shit that you used to do to me. You know what I mean?
No,
But they're like, oh, no. Don't you touch the kids.
I
Like,
just
oh my
crack
God.
up. I just crack up when people hit that grandparent face.
Yes. It's like they've forgot. It's a reset button. They forgot everything that they used to do as parents, right?
Yeah. And that's why but it's also very loving and endearing
Yeah,
to
it is
see them
endearing.
like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like,
You're
really?
like, it hasn't been that long ago. I still remember. I still have. There's like a bruise still. I feel like coming through underneath my skin.
You see that little flinch?
I know. Yeah, I still don't mess with my mom and dad. Okay, like they're fragile now, but I still keep them 6 feet away in case I'm disagreeing with them about something.
I don't know. Some of these kids nowadays, we need to bring back the little old school.
Period.
I'm-
Absolutely, I am all for that corporal punishment. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I saw a parent, literally, the kid was hitting everything at the grocery store. Little Timmy, and she goes, Timmy, I'm not giving in to you. I said, I'm getting ready to give in to Timmy. I said,
Timmy gonna learn from Auntie
Timmy-
Anna real quick right now.
little Balangi Timmy's going to learn from someone auntie.
Yes,
But
yes.
it just kind of blows my mind the way that the kids' generations speak to their adults. I said, okay, I was afraid to walk in front of them wrong.
Right.
Without
right.
bowing.
Yes.
Too
yes,
low.
Too
you know,
low.
too low.
Excuse me, right? And also, if you even missed it, if you didn't even breathe.
Oh, come on. We all did that where we were eating in the corner because you had to wait till all the adults.
Yes.
Okay, I was a
That
kitchen
was really
crew.
weird too. Like when I
yeah.
came here and the kids ate first, I'm like, wow,
Wow,
that never happened growing up.
I don't
You
think we
always
would-
served your elders.
You
Always
served-
served your parents.
And then you couldn't eat until they were completely done. And by the time they finished having a nice, relaxed dinner, then they were ready for tea.
Tea, yes, and the bread had to come out, and then it's like while you're washing the dishes, you
dishes.
haven't even put food in your mouth.
And you have to wait Again, and people were
And the
wondering.
apafafango, right?
Yeah.
You're like over there with the bowl to
with the
wash their
soap and then
hands
get the
with the
towel.
towel.
This girl,
I'm having PTSD. Just like
no,
listening
but like
to this.
people were asking me, "Your food's cold." I go, "It's fine."
It's fine. It's
And they
okay.
go, "Why?" I go, "I'm used to it."
Yeah.
I'm used to it. And they go, "What?" I go,
I don't
"'Cause."
remember what hot food is.
I was like, I was part of the kitchen crew.
yeah.
I was part of the kitchen
Weren't
crew.
we
So
all? Oh, and the fact that you aren't. I mean, not only do you have siblings, but they're all female. So service is
Yes.
like huge in your family. And how in our language, maupopo, right? Because all these females are so strong in your family. You were always organized, and you always had it going on.
our mom was really adamant. I remember she telling me when I was little, she was pressing on me about something. I can't remember what it was about. And she says, "You don't understand now, but you will understand when you're older." And she always spoke about as if like, "Oh, if I were to die tomorrow," I go, "Don't talk like that. Don't talk like that."
But she's like,
she
I'm
did.
prepping you. I'm
prepping
preparing
you.
you.
And
And so
she
did your
was-
older sister.
Yes, and she was really adamant about us girls being, I go, God-loving women and, compassionate, but also
Stand
being able
up
to
for
stand our own.
yourselves.
Stand our own, not only
Be
as
independent
individuals,
and
independent
self-sufficient.
and yes, financially independent. Because she said, I want you guys to choose what you want to do. I don't want you to be with someone for the sake of, because of financial means.
Yeah, to be
We
able to
saw-
provide, you can provide for yourself.
Correct.
That's
And-
what an incredible woman.
Yes, and because she was a person who worked and everybody knew back in the islands, I didn't even realize why everybody knew her because she worked at the post office. I said, "What's the big deal?" And he
Oh,
said,
that's huge.
Right. I didn't realize there was only one, and everybody.
Everybody went to the post office. There wasn't, the mail didn't come to your house. You had to go to the one
Well,
post office.
And I didn't know that till the first time we went to Samoa in '89.
Oh, well, how was that?
It was amazing. Oh gosh, I was so happy. We went for our parents' 25th anniversary, but it was also our dad's salfa'i.
Oh,
So
cool.
he's from Safakoa, Lefanga.
Okay.
So he's his title is Tuala Tamalelangi.
Nice.
So
Beautiful.
we were able to go for that. Such a blessing and everything. And God, I can't wait till they reopen the borders.
Right.
I love going to Samoa. I really wish for Samoans up here
To be able to have that opportunity.
to go, even if if they're not comfortable, they don't know their family. I go, there are plenty of hotels.
Yes.
But I don't. It
There
blew
should
my
be an
mind.
exchange program, not just like for kids, like the exchange program,
Right.
but for adults, for those who have never been home,
We're
and-
talking second generation of people who have never been to Samoa, and I said, "You've got to go experience it, the life." And then also too, it was always a humbling experience, and also a blessing to go with my father. My father's 81 now, so when we
and
would
he's
go,
still living and strong.
yeah.
Oh, get it,
No,
pops.
oh God, he's more fit than me. He goes walking. He goes, "I can walk how many laps around the park? What do you do?" I said, "I can walk."
I can walk.
I go, "I can walk."
You're like, I don't know how many laps, but I can walk, Dad. I'm still
Yeah,
doing
no, but
good.
he used to work the mamongas when he was younger, and he feels that because he was physically active is what gave him good health and his faith and trying to be a good man of God, and everything. He said, he was a naughty boy when he was young. There's a reason why we have 6 older sisters.
Okay.
You know,
Oh,
so-
get it, Dad.
Yeah, but he goes, "I know." He goes, "I'm a better man." I go, "But
I
he
have
is."
experience, so
I'm
I speak
good.
from experience.
Yeah, but it's a very humbling experience to go back there and to hear the stories about, and then even like the simplest things, the fact of having paid roads back there, and how back then I didn't realize why everybody knows everyone's business.
Oh, girl, it's too small.
No,
But
because-
your family name, everything.
No, back in the days, in order to share a message to everybody, the 2AB radio station.
Oh, yeah, that's how they would be sending out messages.
I didn't know that's how everyone in the island knew everyone's business, because if you wanted to get a message out to them, you would contact the radio station, get a message to them, and they would have a point of the program, I think every night,
Yes.
where they would read the messages. And so to the family, because
Talk
everyone,
about transparency, boy.
I
Let airing out some laundry on the air.
on the air.
We should do a segment like that. What do you think, Joe? We should do a segment like that where we like go back in the day. Let's read these messages. Go into people's DMs real quick.
publicly. But it was a whole different line. I really encourage Samoans who've never been to Samoa, and I mean Upolu and Sava'i, when the borders open up, go.
Yes.
Check out Samoa Tourism's website, because Lord knows I'm going to hurry up and go.
Right.
But
right.
it's such a humbling experience to hear and see where they came from. And all of my nieces and nephews love it. born and raised here in America. And people have this tendency to think because Samoa, from a GDP standpoint, is a third world nation. I
Right.
said, no.
But it isn't.
It isn't.
Yeah.
It isn't. I go, it is a great experience for the kids. You need to go there. And if you're blessed to have your parents still alive with you, take them. Take
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
It's an
definitely
experience.
food for the soul.
It is.
Oh man, that's so
Yeah.
cool. Okay, well let's dive
Yes.
more into your political career then, shall we? Shall we go there?
Let's go there.
Let's go there. Okay, talk to us about when you ran for mayor. What was your takeaway from that when you ran?
Well, what triggered me for run was, as a labor union president, everything is money, 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 money. The
Yeah.
city, we don't have money, but they know how to blow money. But
We can spend it. We just
we
don't know how to get
we
it.
don't know how to get it. We can't afford you guys. But what happened was the city was slapped with an $80 million lawsuit.
Woo!
And for those of you guys not familiar with insurance, insurance doesn't pay everything. There's a deductible. The city's deductible is $250,000.
Yikes.
And yeah, so the way that happens is they take it off in the workforce, in the work area, because they don't want to dip in to the reserves. So the way that budgets work in public entities, you create a budget, it's approved by the public entity, and then that's it for the year. You have mid-year budget, do making adjustments or whatever. What it is because of our officials not wanting to go back and dip in, the city manager thought is we're going to take it off across the board, the departments. And so the easiest way that the city does cost savings, and which is where it impacts me, is job savings. So a position, we have all these positions everywhere that are vacant, but they purposely do not fill them. They do not fill them because then it's a cost savings. And so it's my past fight was to get the city to fill these positions. And what's
Because
happening?
you actually needed these positions.
We need these positions. So until something publicly would go sideways, and
And
then
then like, oh snap, let me
and then-
get this person.
right, and then the city council was like, "Oh my God, we need to fill this position," and I was like,
It's
"Thank
been
you."
vacant for 10 years. Like, come on now.
I'm dead serious. It's God on
That's
is
crazy.
because they want to be able to show the public and show in their campaign mailers. I passed a balanced budget. I go, it wasn't balanced. You guys transfer money
Right.
from the reserves, and
I love how you put it to that old adage, you know, you're robbing Peter to
to
pay Paul all the time.
And so, but our officials like to say, we pass a balanced budget. I go, no. The city does a lot of shifting monies around. It's called journal entries.
Yes, I
So-
just
Yes.
learned about JEs, right?
JEs.
That's the little okay.
Right. So, and this is where it goes back to about us really trying to get people who wouldn't normally want to pay attention to local politics, because people don't realize public entities don't want an engaged or an informed community, because an engaged and informed community will actually hold their officials accountable. They will call them out left and right. So 15 years ago or so, 20.
I just
Yeah.
have to stop you there.
Right.
You have to repeat that because you're a rare find, and that's why I'm so excited to have you on the show. Is because transparency seems to be your motto, and
Yes.
you're like, look, I'm an open book. I have all this experience. I'm running for office, and this is what I want to happen. Question me, ask me questions. Like,
It was
what do you want to
domino-
know?
It was a domino effect between the $80 million lawsuit, because then I knew right away that's $250,000. The city's going to come after it and cut somewhere. That's going to mean either a cut in the job or something, and depending on, versus the city council saying, here, let's procure this money.
Right.
So not impact the workforce. But yeah, and they did
So
exactly
that's their first go-to every time something happens.
they do it through salary by not filling positions. And so it's always a fight. And usually if something publicly blows up is when the city council is like, hey, let's fill this.
Yeah.
I said, oh, thank you. About time.
But that sucks that it's not really preparation. It's, let's wait.
That's
it's more
the-
of collateral.
That's the hardest part about Carson was being there for so long. I got experience working with different kind of individuals, and what I thought was before, I would love to go back to that 20 plus years ago.
Yes.
And people don't realize is that we lost a lot of that institutional knowledge, and the way that the makeup of the city has gone, the organization. We're losing people in a year and a half span. Just a couple of years ago, we lost over 30 plus full timers. They mass exited. My office that I worked for, we're an office of 5 people. 4 of them left in 5 months.
It's more than 50%.
I know. And they were just fed up. They just retired. And I couldn't retire. 'cause
You're
I
like,
wasn't
damn
being-
it, I'm not of age
I was
to
like,
retire yet.
I wasn't of age. I was vested.
They
but
still needed someone to keep up the fight, girl.
Yeah, and you know what? And I was willing to lose my job on it because integrity is what matters. That's one of the things is I tell people, they're like, well, you lost your job. I said, and?
Yeah.
I said,
But I
have
did it my
value.
way, baby.
Yes, and I will take care of that. And
Mm-hmm.
then some. But people have to realize your values. You have to have integrity. And you have to be willing to fight it publicly and privately.
That's almost, I mean, you think about politics, it almost becomes like a dirty word, right? Like,
Right.
Because it's not synonymous with integrity. Of course, they always list it and stuff, but
You
you're
want to
going,
know how integrity of the city? The director who teaches the ethics is currently dealing with a lawsuit for embezzlement. I just
case in point. Oh my God, what a mess.
yes.
But I mean, I know that we're focused on Carson because that is
Yes.
where you've been. That's who you represent. That's who you've been taking care of. But do you feel that it's like that in every city here?
No, not to the level in Carson.
Really?
One of the great experiences is in labor is actually getting to meet people from different groups. And you learn off of people. I tell people, I didn't just wake up with all this knowledge.
Yes.
I was told when I was a young buck, 17-year-old, be a sponge and absorb it all. We're not going to always be here.
Right.
And you need to be able to stand up for yourself. And because at the end of the day, we're public entity employees.
Mm-hmm.
And what people don't realize is you have to find that balance of making sure you're doing the right thing and legally, because not only can the city come after you and go lose your job,
the
a
law.
DA's office, yes,
Yes.
criminally.
Yikes.
Administrative, yes, we're public sector. You're supposed to be good stewards with our monies.
Mm-hmm.
And so people don't realize that. And I
Which
just,
is funny, right?
but that's why I want to get our local community, especially our PIs and our Samoans, more engaged in local politics, because I want them to take that energy that they have for federal races and bring it down to the local races.
And that was what we talked about as well. And Joe, Joe Sav, our founder, he's been in public service. You've actually known him since you were in
We
grade
went to
school.
junior high together. We are
So-
that local.
Right. And then you served together in a lot of community stuff. So you've been in service as well as he. Now
Yes.
he's doing this part of service, right? Like this is his way of giving back.
But I think it's amazing what you guys do, because you're showing kids someone that looks like them,
Yes.
someone in their background, even someone from their neighborhood is doing something that our parents wouldn't
Didn't even know it was
necessarily
an
imagine.
option, right?
Exactly.
They're like that. What can you get
'Cause,
paid
you know,
with that? You know.
I'm sure how many Samoan parents would like want all their kids to be doctors and
Oh, always
lawyers.
Yeah.
and I'm like,
they thought that was the only job
Yes.
ever for
Right.
stability.
But,
right.
But to be able to show the kids and stuff like that, different industries, and necessarily in trying to encourage people, because one of the things I feel so bad, there's such a drop in RPIs, is that if they're not going to go to college, I like adamantly want to get these people into trades.
Right.
It's excellent work. And
I think that's
yeah.
really great that you bring that up, because I mean, looking at your education as well, we had talked about how the traditional way of education
Correct.
is so pounded into the U.S. that you forget, hey, there are other avenues of education. Everyday life and what you
Correct.
experience is education, right?
Yes.
However, you read, you comprehend, you can educate yourself.
And that's one of the things I tell my nieces and nephews, you guys are all lucky. You guys having the ability, your parents making the way for you guys to go, and even them getting scholarships, supporting, I go, it's not the same as when we were younger. Everybody was working, help their family.
Working, yes.
And I have no regrets, because it built the foundation that I am the person I am today.
Absolutely.
So, but one of the things I just feel so discouraged, because they see these kids, they feel like there's no mentoring in them, and I want them. There are other ways of making a great income, support your family, and then some. Quite honestly, the trades make more than a lot of these college graduates.
For sure. And it's a shorter amount of time.
Yes.
And I think that's where the struggle a lot comes from, is the fact that it's a hard commit on top of the tuition alone. Right?
That was one of the things on my platform I had wanted to do as mayor, was actually link in with the different trades group. And one of the largest ones locally is IBEW, which is the electrical union. And they have great programs, and even Long Beach City College and everything. I really wanted us a focus about getting these kids who are not going to go to university. If you're not going to traditional university, let's get you into on the track to be a self-sufficient individual. It's a matter of pride because it's so different when a person's able to financially support themselves.
Yes.
They walk.
It's empowering.
It is empowering.
And you feel like you can take over the world and anything to be able to take care of yourself and your family.
Right.
Holy shit, nobody can stop you at that point. Like you have that confidence.
But I feel like unless they personally know somebody, they won't even know it exists.
Right.
So, if certain kids aren't going the college route and they're not going the military route, I wanted to make sure they were
Trade school. Like, hey, there's another option.
Right. And not only that, also help those who are incarcerated. Coming out, one of the things I've learned from my friends who were formerly incarcerated was how hard to adjust.
Absolutely.
And the stigma. And
the judgment is huge. Not only, but in trying to even find a job with a record.
And I feel so bad because if you get arrested for, white collar.
Yes.
What do? You come back and you work for an elected official. It just blows my mind. It seems so unfair, for different individuals. But I just feel like there's such a huge gap and our officials don't pay attention to that.
You think about that. Yes. My gosh, there's so much that I want to touch on, but that's why we're going to have to bring you back. But before I let you go, let's talk about what your platform is for running for a city clerk.
So for those of you not familiar, I actually worked for the long-term city clerk, Helen Kawagoy. She was there for 37 years.
That's where you started, baby.
I started from 96 to 2002. I worked directly in her office before I left to finance, but I still continue working for her for every election. So I've worked maybe a dozen or so. I lost track. Carson had a lot of elections, the special elections during. I lost track. I stopped counting past 12.
Oh my gosh!
So I was well versed in the different process. And Helen was adamant that every single one of her staff members could do any aspect of the job. She believed in cross training.
Good.
There's a difference between
making
sure someone's cross trained and taking advantage of someone and making them work out of class.
Oh, right.
So there's a difference. There was a big distinction. And she was very pushed on us as that we're public servants and we should always serve with the public's best interest. And one of the things she's really pushed on was that we were always effective in our action, we were efficient in our action, and that we were transparent. If we're not hitting that benchmark.
I love that word.
Yes, and so I always use that as my benchmark because we always understood as public entities that our work has to be able to stand on its own merit. If someone outside were to come in and review, would we be okay?
Yes.
Because if not, they're going to come after me.
Right.
So,
but what was really cool too is that you can really ask anybody in her staff; they would know because they like you said, are cross trained in these positions.
Correct.
So awesome.
It was amazing. But our last city clerk, she was amazing. Tanisha, Gosnell, City of Riverside gained her, but she left the office, and now the office is struggling. And because once again, we have inept city management that doesn't quite understand what the needs are. And it's apparent with what I've had to deal with.
Girl, yes.
What I've actually had to deal with in this week alone is the fact that I found out that the city not only disclosed publicly my private information,
when you say private,
my social security number, full number,
and if
my driver's license. I felt hesitant about putting my bank
No
account.
redaction, nothing.
No redaction, nothing. And not only did they have it out for public view, and some election officials looked at it.
And they had also asked for your account number.
And I didn't feel comfortable putting it down because the combination of already having my email address, having my full social security number, driver's license, and bank, I just said, you know what? If they're going to deny my paperwork, I'll dispute it, appeal. I just did not feel comfortable. I was really uneasy. And I finally, in the last day, I didn't want to get disqualified as a candidate.
Right.
So I filled out the paperwork. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that the city would actually release it to the public. And not only that, sold copies of our paperwork. And as of today, I have yet to receive some written notification from the city acknowledging what the error was, what they did to fix it, and what they're going to do to help us in the future. I'm actually in the process of having to get a whole new social security number.
That's insane.
This is campaign season, and politics are dirty in Carson. I'm not like that. That's not how I roll. I believe in facing people. So
now I can actually, when I see when I see my boy Joe Sav, I'm like, you dirty because you're from Carson because you play dirty out here.
But
I'm just kidding.
So I'm literally.
I know you're willing to talk about it, but so far so to where, I mean, technically to me, it looks like a crime. Like you're putting out your personal information for consumption and anything can happen. It's like, oh, the kid in the
Yes.
candy store. So you called the police and you wanted to have a documentation of this.
Yeah, so crime's been committed. I'm a private citizen, and so I try to file a police report. They wouldn't allow me to file a police report.
Unreal.
Yes.
And what was the reasoning?
They said, this isn't a crime. And so I had to correct them. I said, it is a crime. And I told them, you need to take my report because I need document proof that I went to the authorities to report this. There are other routes that I have to take, but this is the first step. And so they wouldn't take that because they said it's a civil matter. And there's no action taken.
Yet.
No theft. No, I was like, this just blew my mind.
So, but at least though there was a documentation of the actual visit, right?
Right. And so at least get that, I contacted the Public Integrity Unit. For those of you guys out there not realize, there's a unit in the district attorney's office called the Public Integrity Unit.
Integrity, with the word integrity in
Well,
it.
they had to be created because they're the ones who prosecute public entities.
Dope.
People don't know that. People don't know that. Once
Again, we don't-
engaging.
They don't want you to know.
They don't want.
Oh,
This is
man.
why I tell people about breaking it down to them how the city works because people get turned off or they feel slighted because people make them feel so small, and I hate that.
Yeah.
I really hate that. But this is why I'm really a big proponent in the city clerk's office is the one, the tie that binds with the community. They're the ones that usually be able to help and direct
Oh, that's
people.
beautiful. The tie that binds the
And
community.
one of the things I really want to do is continue on what our previous city clerks have done is take that level of transparency and also, and for those of you guys who are not familiar, in California, we have a California Public Records Act, which gives you, as a private citizen, the right to view and purchase any public documents. That's not
Okay.
exempt. And the reason that's supposed to be for the transparency factor. I want to get the city's electronic way of having all the documents available
So you're
that
not over there trying to go into the clerk's office to go print all this out.
Right, and actually, and you have to pay for it. So you want to be able to provide the electronic means so the people from the comforts of their own home be able to have
do
the
it.
time and access.
Yes.
I really want to sit there and engage the community and explain to them the process of legislation, of how it works at the city level.
Yes.
What
where it
program-
actually impacts them
Correct.
directly versus the federal level. So when we're all up in arms about what's going on federally, like they could give two, fucks about
one
us.
of- yes.
It's the local level.
One of the things I really feel is important, and I think the city clerk's office is the key, is to be able to explain to the community what different levels of a government are they represented by and what do they do for them.
Yes.
Because people don't understand.
Right. You're like, why? What are all these positions? What is this? What is
What is
that?
that
Like,
rep-
right.
Exactly.
But then they're afraid to ask because, again, they make them feel dumb. Like, why do you not know this? You're like, because because it's not
Yes.
taught to us
No,
in
it isn't.
school. You know
It's
what I
not.
mean? It's an elective a lot of the time when you're trying to learn about your local government.
Right, and this is what the whole transparency factor is to really engage the community. And I love flowcharts and Excel, but actually more visual in short ways of being able to explain to people how this stuff works. Where do you go? Because it's a matter of pride. People don't want to ask. So what you do is we make that information available so that they feel comfortable enough reading
Yes.
it, and then maybe they'll pick up the phone and call.
Yes.
And that's why I always put my number out there, even during the
I
last
know.
election.
So cool.
Well, because the only way the residents are going to get to know you is that they actually have a genuine conversation with you.
Yeah.
And so I was really big, and I always press on my members that we are civil servants and we should serve the community with a servant's heart. I said, even though they might be yelling at you, you serve them.
You serve
with
them.
a servant heart. I said,
You remember your sister when you
yes,
say
I
that?
do.
Oh, that's
And that's why I
beautiful.
got her tattooed literally on my
To
forearm.
remind you, you're like,
Physically.
I want to punch this person in the face, but I'm going to serve them
But
with
the-
an open heart.
But the way that I see it is if I don't help them, who will?
Yeah.
And one of the things we got to engage our community, especially the Islanders. I want our Samoan community, all of our Polynesians, to dominate every political field. I don't care what field you are. If you're a libertarian, if you're a conservative, independent.
I know,
or
which is another rare find of here. You are a conservative.
Yeah, man, I'm GOP.
I
GOP,
love it.
girl, GOP is closer to GOD. You better check that. I'm just telling you.
We're one letter off, baby.
But no, I always get that people are just befuddled. They said, how can you be a labor leader and this and that, blah, blah. People are just downright rude. They're like, and like I told you, someone said, how do you sleep at night? And I said, quite well with a fan on. But people, we've got to get back to that level of civility and accepting people for
Their
as they are.
choices and their, yes.
I would think if anybody, Islanders, Samoans, coming from such mixed backgrounds, different religions and everything, it just didn't even faze me. What I care more about is, are you an a-hole or not?
Yeah,
'Cause honestly,
right.
that's what really matters to me is the person that you are and how do you treat other people. And I was very sensitive about at work because I also represented the grounds guys and the custodian. So I was very observant. I would always see how other people, even higher ups, would treat them because that's just a telltale sign of their character.
Right.
Of those who don't even have the decency to say good morning and bust your way right past them.
Yes.
I always made an effort, and I told my board, I said, to learn every single member's name. I had like 400 members, 300.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I made an effort to learn their name, say their name how many times, and
So
get
that
to know
you
them.
could actually
You
call
don't
it.
you don't realize what a big difference it makes to actually address somebody by their first name.
Yes.
They know who you are. I ask how their family's doing, how the kids. You don't understand. It's that way of connecting. And I always try to explain to people, and I always remember this one man who was a custodian. I ran into him at the restaurant, and he was so excited to introduce me to his family. And his whole family, they had like a whole party. I said, oh, no, don't worry. He goes, no, I want you to meet my family. He goes, this is our union president, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, hi. I go, I work with your dad. I'm your dad's coworker. So I didn't think anything of it and whatever. Fast forward the next week, I saw him, and he was crying, and he said, thank you for saying that, because he felt like,
You acknowledge that.
no, but he goes, you made me feel like we're equal. And he goes, I know we're not. I said, excuse me, is City of Carson not on our paycheck stubs? We're equals. But that
You have a job, I have a job.
that interaction really stuck with me because he said, you made me feel big in front of my children and grandkids. I go, oh my gosh.
That's beautiful.
And he was
girl.
crying. Yeah, he was crying. And I said, the humility in it. My members know I'm a hard ass. I will rip their asses a new one because I really believe we're paid a good wage to provide a service for our community. All this unfairness, that's what I would fight for. But that did not give you a pass to do the naughty stuff.
Right.
So I used to tell my members, who do you fear more sitting across the table, me or management?
Yeah.
Because, I had to prepare people and stuff. And I couldn't always be the coddler to coddle them. No, because we're going into war.
Yes.
So I had to prepare them and make sure that
That they were ready.
They were ready so that when we did,
They
were
wouldn't
like,
fall and they wouldn't collapse.
correct.
When the pressure came on.
Because I experienced from city management, them trying to belittle me. Yeah. My first negotiation meeting as a union president.
Oh, yeah.
The assistant city manager, they came fully loaded. Every management, every director, the attorneys. And I was fighting and citing some law or anything like that. And he's condescending way told me, my first meeting, he said, are you telling me you know some more than, we got several doctorates here, a couple lawyers, and countless undergrads.
And you're like, and?
I said, wow, me with my public school education and my AA, I said, I may only have that, but I know my ABCs and I know how to read. And I cited everything. And this is why I was very adamant about empowering not only our employees, but empowering our community, because you have those in power who take advantage of their position and put people down. Yeah. And then what happens is it just turns people off completely.
Yes, and they shut down.
And
not everybody is confrontational. A lot of the time we kind of cower. You know what I mean? To when somebody raises their voice or when they're belittling you, and especially in front of people, which is the worst.
And that's the worst. But I was the youngest of a large family, so
so you're like, I was belittled all the time.
Right.
I'm used to it. I got this. I got thick skin.
Exactly. People were like, how do you do that? I go, can you imagine having 5 older sisters? I didn't fear my parents. I feared my sisters.
Oh, for sure.
But I tell people.
My brothers would say the same thing. I'm the oldest and the only girl. And they're like, no, mom and dad didn't scare me. Lulu did.
No, it was the God honest truth. But once again, life skills that brought me to the place I am now. And that's one of the things is that they try and try. You have people of authority who try to throw their titles around to belittle you. I go, guess what? I'm going to dish it right back at you.
Yes.
And then when I have to fasao them, and correct them. And they're coming back at me. I go, this isn't a buffet. What you doing? Coming back for seconds? Let's go.
Let's go.
You're talking to a chick who will go toe-to-toe with the city council at the public meetings. And that's another issue I have. They're not allowing the public to publicly speak at the council meetings. You're only allowed to do a written comment. And if your comment takes too long for them to read, they cut it off.
Oh my gosh, like the Grammys or or the award ceremonies
Correct,
where they start sounding off the.
But you speaking at a council meeting and addressing your elected officials, whether or not you voted for them, that is your
still
civic right.
Right.
And they are pressing that. They are suppressing that. And people don't.
And what's their reason?
They don't want to deal with the public.
Well, but they're a public servant. Oh my
It doesn't
gosh,
matter. Once again,
that's crazy.
Girl, this is Carson. What you think? I'm like,
Oh man, own their own rules. I'll have to
Yes.
definitely ask Joe about it as well. I was like, so now I get to really know what Carson's all about. Well,
Yes.
girl, I am so excited about you actually throwing your hat into the race. I wish I was a Carson resident just so I can vote for
Aw,
you. Okay,
I appreciate it.
But I will be telling everyone, all the Carsonites that I know, to make sure to come out and
you know,
support
every
you.
poly has someone in Carson.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. And so, yeah, I was a little late in the game and taking care of my paperwork and everything, but social media will be all up should be by next week. I got to take care of some legal formalities.
You have to come back though.
Yeah,
I mean, the
I'm
race
loving.
isn't until November, right?
Yeah, so the race is November 2nd. It's a special election. We have 2 seats on the ballot. We have a council district, I can't remember, number 4, which is a very interesting district.
Okay.
It's a little snippet of the north of Carson, and it goes down a little stick all the way down to the south side and covers the south side. So that is Carson's gerrymandering.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got
Yes,
it.
it's gerrymandered district. So their seat's going to be up.
Okay.
And also the city clerk, which is citywide. It's an at-large seat, so any registered voter in the whole city is actually eligible to vote.
I keep trying to say, like, okay, this is the last question, but
Yes.
explain what the city clerk does, because that was huge when I got to actually get that information from you, because it's like, oh, these positions, again,
Right.
knowing these positions, you're like, wait, what do they do?
So the main core duties is the legislative action of the city council. So they also run the city council meetings, and they're responsible for all the documentation relating to it, between the agendas, the minutes, the ordinances. Ordinances is what codifies into the municipal code. That is our local law. And we also have the charter, which they're also responsible for. Any legislative action derived from the city council is under the city purview. They're the official record keeper for the city. Another component that they also serve as is besides record keeper, the elections official, which I'm currently having to keep dealing with the city. So for those of you who don't know, people need to go back and look at their history. Once again, them not knowing, I know my stuff, and I want to encourage people to educate themselves. And if you want to learn about local politics,
They
reach
can
out to
call
me.
you.
Contact
they can
me.
DM you, or
I
and
want-
please say
yes.
what your social media is so everybody can
Yeah,
contact you.
we'll be changing the handle, but you'll be searching for Meni online. It'll be up because I got to switch the handle. I'm going to recycle. But I want our community to be engaged. I want them to take hold of wherever their community is. I don't want them to feel as if they are not worthy, they haven't put in their time. All you need to be is a registered voter.
Yes.
And I can sit there and help people break down the process, because my election experience, one thing about me versus all the other candidates is not only being a long-term city employee, that I'm the only one who actually worked for the city clerk. I'm the only one that actually worked elections. I'm the only one who actually dealt with bids, contracts, and everything as well on different facets. None of them have it. The city clerk works as a department director, runs a full-fledged department and operating.
And that's why it's an elected position. I mean,
But
you
it was-
handle so much.
And that was the check and balance to make sure that our mayor and city council, if they were to go sideways, that the city clerk and treasurer were not beholden to them. They are separate, elected on their own.
Yes.
So they only report to the community. And I believe it should stay that way. We need that.
Yes, totally.
Considering our history of our mayor and council, we need to keep it separate. But those are the main components, but also keeping the integrity of the process. And it just breaks my heart this past week having to deal with the city clerk's office to see what it's become. And
And what's obviously lacking from your perspective, and
it
you
wasn't
observing.
lacking providing my public information, my personal information.
Oh yeah, they overserved on that part.
They overserved on that one, and they will hear from me.
Oh, I don't want to be on the other side of that seat.
No,
They
but
should be afraid, very afraid.
But I definitely want our Samoan community. Our Samoan community need to be not only engaged voters, but actually vote.
Oh, Message.
Vote.
Holy, that's a
And
foreign concept.
I actually want to do a voter registration drives because one of the things that people don't realize is that you can update your voter registration online, but what'll happen is you're not able to update your signature online. So we need you to fill updated forms. People don't realize if your signature doesn't match your voter registration card, if you apply by
So
ballot,
it didn't update.
well, here's the thing that people don't realize. Governor Newsom changed to all mail ballot last year, which means they will do signature verification. How old were you when you
when you
I was
first
18.
registered? Exactly. My
I'm
signature
42.
has changed since then. And I'm
Correct.
married now. There's
And
a different,
once again, this is important to really do a voter registration drive to have people fill out the actual form so their signature is updated. Because do you really follow up and check and see if your ballot's counted? A lot of people are
No.
voting by mail. This is why me personally, I always voted in person because I never could remember what my signature was like when I was a kid.
Yes.
So I prefer to just go in person
You were
and vote.
counted in person. Yeah.
Because
Me too.
then-
I like that.
I do too. And I also wait because a lot of things come out at the 11th hour.
Right.
But I don't think residents understand that. If your voter registration signature doesn't match your
You're not
ballot,
counted. It's invalid.
because they verify your signature. So
My mind is blown right now.
That's why I'm telling you that we got to engage our community. And now with the, everything opening up, I was like, okay, we got to start hitting up on these events and having voter registration drives to have them fill out. I know it's tedious. People don't want to fill out the form, but we need to get your
But
signatures updated.
We always complain about not being counted, not being heard. Well, it's a little, few pieces of paper to actually really be accounted. Like your voice actually will really matter now, especially on the local level. Local level is where it's at, y'all. It directly impacts you.
Yes.
And Anna, I wish we didn't have to go yet, but I
Yes.
would love for you to come back. Please tell me
Anytime.
you will.
course.
Perfect. And also her phone number
Yes.
and her email is up there for you to just hit her up and check in with her. If you have any questions, she's more than willing, as she is here on our show. Such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
girl.
And please don't do the call hang up and keep calling me hang up to see if it's really me. Because
It's really me.
I
It's
go
really
through
you,
those.
right?
Yeah. So when they
Oh
do,
my
people
gosh.
do that all the time
What? They really can't call you?
because they don't believe that's really my number. So I tell them, okay, it's my turn to hang up. I'm going to hang up on you right now. So I hang up on them and I go, well, you did two, so I'm going to do one.
Wow.
But no, legitimately, I'm out here to help you guys. It's not about, photo ops or anything. It's about the real deal because we need to do the work. Photo ops
You're
is not
just so
going to take your
refreshing that your biggest thing on your platforms is transparency and
Yes,
integrity.
yes.
As a politician, those are like bad words. So
Yeah.
that's huge. And I just thank you for representing our communities. I mean, not only the community of Carson, but Samoans and Polynesians and APIs. Like, thank you so
Yes.
much
So
for
any
just
of you, yes.
giving us an option. Like, hey, we can do this. You look like
Honestly.
me. Like we have somebody that looks like us that is passionate and has been through this and can do it and knows her shit. Like,
So honestly, if anyone's out there who's thinking about potentially running for your local offices or anything, hit me up. I will give you a breakdown of how it works and stuff like that and kind of help you walk you through the process. Now's the time to do that on off election year to get yourself familiar. And I can direct you to where to start learning. And so you get to that comfort level and not think about it at the 11th hour. I was able to whip that out at the 11th hour because
but
I'm
that's
me.
because you
I'm
have
me.
experience.
Yes.
You know how to dot the T's. I mean, the I's and cross your T's, you know.
Yes.
But yeah.
Our people need to be ruling
Yes.
legitimately all over the place.
And that we're capable. Like, hey, you have
Yes.
the talent, you have the wherewithal to actually do that. You are smart enough,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
Thank you so much again, Anna,
No problem.
for Anna Meni, vote Anna Meni, City
City
Clerk of
Clerk.
Carson, coming up here
Yes.
in November, but she'll be back before then. So check her out on all her social media handles and also her email and her phone number.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, talk about transparency. But we wish you luck, babe. God
Thank you.
bless. I'm so excited for this next chapter in your life.
Yes.
It's going to be awesome, and we get to be a part of it and see you grow through it. So,
Thank you.
and
Appreciate
taking
it.
us with you.
Heck
Ah,
yeah.
you're the
You're
best.
from the beginning process, so this will be a great experience.
Yeah, I can't wait to keep checking in with you. This
Sounds
is going to
good.
be great. All right, check out Everyone Loves Lulu, brand new episode every week on islandblocknetwork.com. See, hear, speak love. Mwah.
See love, hear love, speak love. Everyone loves Lulu.